Pixar is back with a brand new film that is hitting theaters this weekend, and I'm really interested in talking about this one because, well, it might be one of the worst Pixar movies. But is that a bad thing? Let's find out in the review. Welcome back, film fans. It is Brad from Leslie World Brad, and today in the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new romantic comedy drama film called Elemental. So Pixar has been one of the best animation studios, if not one of the best production studios that has been working in the 21st century. They have made countless amazing films over the years, and of course, Toy Story, which is one of my favorite movie series of all time. And I'm always excited to see a new Pixar movie because I always feel that the people who work behind these movies actually care about their films, and they're targeted toward families and not just kids, and everybody can enjoy a Pixar movie. And when I saw the marketing for Elemental, I thought it looked good, but not up to the Pixar standards. And I think a lot of this is because it is very similar to movies that we have seen like Inside Out or like Disney's Zootopia, and it combines both of those elements and you basically get this movie. Sure, this movie is different than both of those films, and I don't want to discredit anyone who made this film and all the hard work they put into. As a film, this is a pretty fun, solid movie that gives you everything you would want to feel. It has a lot of emotion, has some pretty decent characters, but when comparing it to Pixar standards, this movie does not do it justice. And a lot of this is due to its story. This is a story we have seen countless times over and over again, and the story doesn't feel so fresh or trying to say something that we as the audience could take from it. The director, Peter Sohn, did a really good job, and he has talked publicly about how this film is very personal to him, and many elements, pun intended, of this story are very connected to him in terms of the parents and the world in itself, and a lot of the deeper messages within this movie, which I do think are very well done. But I do feel this movie doesn't explore every angle that it wants to. So let's just dive into some of my positives first, and I do want to start with the animation. This is easily one of the best aspects about every single Pixar movie, as the animation is just stunning. They are the true kings of 3D animation when it comes to character design and how much they can just push the animation to its limit. And there are so many aspects of this movie that look and feel so real, especially with the amazing character designs of the fire and water people and the way their bodies move, and it's just constantly changing, and there's always some detail to look at. This movie feels like it took a ton of time to animate and they didn't rush it. I mean, this is a beautiful looking film, and with a budget of $200 million or more or less, this looks pristine. The original score, composed by Thomas Newman, is also very good, who has been a major contributor to Pixar, like the Toy Story franchise, and I think that it is really good for this film. I would have liked to have the score used a little bit more in this movie and replace some of the more original songs that are in here, or just music in general, but I thought that he did a really good job in this movie, as he normally does, because, you know, the guy's a legend. Easily the best aspect about this film has got to be the messages within it, which I think are some of the best animated films that can work for both younger children and for the older audience. And when you're a child, you don't see as many of these things, but then when you get older and you rewatch these movies, you start to see all of these different messages come together, and I do feel this is Pixar's strength, and it is shown here. This is the heart of the movie, as you feel like Peter Sohn put all of his personal love and emotion into this film in terms of the story. And like I said earlier, it's not the most complex or most original story we've seen, but you definitely feel the emotion behind it, because by the end of this film, there were a lot of people crying in my auditorium, and I can totally understand. This is a very heartfelt film, and I also really enjoy the fact that this movie doesn't have a central villain per se. like in your most traditional movies. It actually is something different than that. And I appreciate Pixar doing something different in their last couple movies where you don't have a central villain character. Essentially, this movie is a romantic comedy drama film at its core, which is something we haven't really seen from Pixar. I think the closest we've gotten from that is Toy Story 4 with the relationship between Woody and Bo Peep. This felt like a really decent romantic comedy drama film. Most of the jokes were very cheesy and just straightforward and very much in your face. A lot of the jokes in this movie my grandma could make. No offense, grandma, I love you, but like I think some of the jokes in this movie could have been written much better. Unfortunately, I do have many criticisms with this film, as I've already been talking about, and I have to start with the concept of the movie in itself. While I do think this movie is pretty creative in terms of how the characters look and the world it's set in, I do feel that the messages of the movie are so strong and straightforward. I think that the movie could have just been traditionally live action, and I think it would have been a better movie. And the reason why I say this is because there are so many different plot inconveniences in this movie in terms of what the characters can't and can do. These characters are elements: fire, water, air, and they could do whatever with their bodies. They can get themselves out of different situations, and the movie doesn't try to explain itself of why and how these characters actually work. So when you get into the second and third act of the movie, I was getting really frustrated in terms of all of these random inconveniences or plot devices that the movie sets up that could have been easily avoided, and it just feels lazy from a screenplay point of view. I'm sure I'm going to hear a ton of criticisms and complaints in the comment section about, oh Brad, it's a kid's movie, oh you shouldn't take it all that seriously. But when comparing it to almost any other animated film or even Pixar movies in general, they establish the rules of what these characters can and can't do in terms of their environment and how us humans react to those things, like toys or rats or monsters or whatever the case may be. And it's really more because of the screenplay in itself. Maybe if the screenplay was better, maybe I really wouldn't complain about it, but it feels more apparent when the screenplay just feels very lazy in terms of how the characters are used and their animation styles. The biggest criticism I can give this film is that it is very predictable. I know a lot of these Disney or Pixar films can be very formulaic, and you know exactly what's going to happen, when a lot of these really great Disney Pixar movies are all focused on in the moment, where you're not thinking about what the movie's going to end up being like. You're focused on what you're feeling right now. I didn't feel that within this film, and I think so much of it is because it is very formulaic. It's structured like your typical comedy romantic drama film. It hits all the checklists of things you would come to expect. So when the movie ends, you know exactly how it's going to go, and there wasn't a lot to take from it. I also feel this movie doesn't have a lot of rewatch value, maybe in terms of the animation and just appreciating how beautiful it looks in some of the more emotional moments. But I felt like I got every single aspect of this movie. Like, I don't feel like I need to go back and rewatch this movie. Overall, Elemental is a very solid, fun, and enjoyable animated film that gives you everything you would want from this type of movie, with all the emotion, the great animation. Sure, there are many aspects of this movie that I didn't enjoy all that much, but I do think this is a solid, good movie that I would recommend you guys checking out. And it isn't going to be one of Pixar's best films, but I think for what it is, this was a pretty enjoyable movie. I am giving Elemental a 6 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. As I want to know below in the comments section, have you seen Elemental, and where would you rank it in your Pixar film ranking? I can't wait to hear about that. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like as you always should, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the following video.